You're listening to Crazy Shit in Real Estate. You'll be amazed at all these wild but true situations that others have found themselves in. Because on this show, you'll hear uncensored, unbelievable stories from the world of real estate. I'm Leigh Brown. Let's dive right in.
Hello, friends. Leigh Brown here, and you've landed at Crazy Shit in Real Estate, where today's guest has arguably more energy than I do and talks faster than I do. But luckily for you, he doesn't have the heavy Southern accent, so you'll be in good shape. Chris Craddock is here to tell a story that made me speechless. And if you want to know what can make Leigh Brown speechless, stay tuned. I'll see you on the other side. Before you get the rest of the story, I'd love to share a quick message from today's sponsor.
Hey, y'all. Just going to take a quick break from this conversation to let you know about the sponsor of today's episode. That sponsor is, well, frankly, it's me. It's Leigh Brown University. Look, it's no secret that real estate is crazy competitive, getting more so every day. And when the pie doesn't get any bigger, but the people wanting a piece of it do, you've got to figure out a competitive advantage. And that's why I created Leigh Brown University. It's everything you need from soup to nuts, cradle to grave, point A to point B, whatever point B is. Each of you has different goals. So maybe you're a new to the career realtor, or you're a super experienced pro who can't figure out that next level. There's something in my course that's going to help you break through. It's designed for you. Before I even met you. So enroll in Leigh Brown University today. You go to www.leighbrownu.com and I'll see you there. Now, back to this amazing content.
So, Chris Craddock, tell me where you're located. Tell me a little bit about you. I see a bunch of hotel behind you or multifamily. What's behind you here?
Yeah. So I am in Springfield, Virginia right now. I'm actually at the office of somebody we kind of partner with. And so, I'm in here a lot of afternoons and our office, we ended up going more virtual. So my office, I've actually never even been to my new office and we've had it for months. So
it's going to be brand new, like a new experience every time you walk in there then, right?
Exactly. So I've got 9 different businesses that I'm part of. And so,
it's 10 different businesses with revenue streams. That means you've got your financial stability in place. You're just one revenue stream away. You're so close.
Done. I actually just had somebody offered me a piece of their business the other day, but had to say no because I created a framework for me is that if I don't see a path to a net of a 7-figure business within 3 years, I don't want to be a part of it. And so that one, I felt like it could get there, but I didn't feel like I saw the path well enough.
All right. So talk to me a little bit about what you do in real estate. So my audience is partly realtors, partly investors, partly just regular people out in the world who are interested in real estate, and they come to hear crazy stories and to hear different perspective. So I'm curious about what you do in the space.
Well, I love the fact that you're talking to agents and investors. For me personally, that's like my song is that if you're an agent, don't let all the deals slip through your fingers. You need to, what is it? Grant Cardone says the biggest problem with real estate agents is they don't buy their own product. So
well, it's true, but there's a massive amount of fear. As you know, that's the first rental property, that first investment is the scariest one to buy. But we can't preach this enough. Realtors have to buy real estate at some point, because if you did your primary residence, friends, you can do an investment property. Even if the market's high, low, or in between, there's always a market. So actually, since that is your favorite space, let's just go backwards and talk about that. What was your first investment experience in real estate, and how did you overcome all of the heartache and the heartburn and the fear that it took to get involved? Because that's the first step.
Well, I'll tell you. So I started off, I graduated college in 2000, got married. And in 2003, my wife got pregnant, and I was on staff with an organization called Young Life. It was a small...
Oh, I love Young Life. I support them here in Cabarrus County.
Yeah, they're awesome. They're awesome. But I'll tell you what, if you're on staff with Young Life and you're getting paid $20,000 a year in the DC area, it is hard to survive on that. So with that said, I just went to the library because it was before Google was the fount of all information and knowledge, right? So I went to the library and checked out every book on investing that they had. And one of the things I always preach is imperfect action trumps perfect inaction any day of the week, right? And
absolutely.
So almost like an idiot, I knew enough to be dangerous, but I read like really quickly, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and then a bunch of like investment books that I got no idea, if they're even still out there. But I read them and I just started knocking on doors of distressed properties. And somehow in 4 months, I made 12 times what I made in a year. And, I'll just tell you, massive imperfect action, right? It gets things moving. And so then I continued doing ministry stuff. I have 6 kids now. And if anybody that knows anything about kids, your money just disappears very fast. And so I ended up getting back I was doing side things just to make ends meet. And I'm like, why don't I get back into real estate? So I started flipping houses again. Well, this was after the crash. So everything that I was finding before had become short sales, right? So I ended up getting my real estate license because I was paying another agent just to pay for my closing costs and all the other stuff. And I'm like, why am I doing that? I'm finding everything. All he's doing is writing up a contract and making tens of thousands of dollars, every month. And so I got my license and just to flip my own deals. And at the time when I was in ministry, I had always led large teams. And I'd gone back to school. I'd gotten a doctorate in leadership. I always loved leading people. And so somebody gave me Gary Keller's book, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And I read that. And all of a sudden it made sense to me there. And I just felt like this is right. And so I guess it was December 2014, we started building our team. And last year we did 167 million and just over 5 million in GCI, gross commission income for non-real estate people. So it took about 5 years to get there. And halfway through, one of the things I realized was investors are spending a lot of money to find deals that they're just leaving dead in their CRM. And for me personally, I know how to speak to investors. So I partnered with investors to really be able to speak their language and say, hey, how would you like to get paid for deals that are just laying dead in your CRM? And so we've gotten a lot of listing opportunities from that, help build our team, and also send them and make them a lot of money too. So I'm sorry, that may have been a mouthful. I just gave as much as I could in a short period of time.
Well, and if you're a listener or a viewer who's not in real estate, a CRM is a client relationship manager, also known as a database, which most people have and rarely dust the cobwebs off of it. It basically lives as one big Rolodex, which is exactly what Chris is talking about. So I want to go back to this first investment property that you were out there knocking on doors. When did you and your wife actually buy your first property?
We actually bought our property in 2002 is the property that we bought to own. And we actually tried to buy right after we got married, but my wife's father had given her advice to not have a credit card at all because...
Oh, was he a Dave Ramsey guy?
Well, he had some credit issues. And so he was like, don't get a credit card. Credit cards are evil. And so then when we went to go buy a house, she had no credit and not bad credit, but no credit. And so we had to wait a year. And the crazy thing is the townhouses we were looking to buy at the time were $150,000. When a year later in 2002, we bought our first one for $252,000 for the same house. So it was crazy.
What would that go for now? Like 900 right now in that area?
Yeah, in our market. Actually, it was funny because I sold it at 436 and I thought I was really smart because I sold right before the crash. And actually, I just sold a couple others in that neighborhood. Our team did for just under 6. So yeah, I sold at the top right before the biggest crash of our generation. And they're now selling for almost 200,000 more than they were right before the crash.
Which actually, if you're listening to this, that's your reminder that you buy property when it makes sense for you. You do not ever try to time the market because there's no way to guess what the top is or what the bottom is. But especially with your primary residence, that's where you're going to be bringing the kids home from the hospital. It's where you lay your head down to sleep at night. If the payment works, buy it and then don't look backwards. You've got to think in terms of long term because real estate is cyclical. We will see a market shift. This is very frothy as we record this at the end of May 2021. We don't know what the economic tsunami is going to bring to us, but something's coming as inflation hits. And that shouldn't stop you from buying because you're going to live there and paying rent is just basically paying somebody else's mortgage because they took the risk in the market. So Chris, in all of those investments and working with that many homeowners and buyers and sellers in real estate, managing a team, I know you've seen something that makes you say, y'all are never going to believe what happened to me today. So that's the story I want you to tell our listeners today. What you got?
All right. I mean, this is crazy. This is one of those things where I had to say, is this real life? Like this is on movies. This doesn't happen to me. So I went and met with, actually one of the guys on my team went and met with this guy who had an auction. He basically had stuff coming and the guy, he needed to sell fast. And so he brought me in and I was like, well, I'll buy it. You know, if you really need to sell this fast, I'll buy it from you. So we created a partial owner finance deal where he kept the note on it. It's called a subject to, where basically he left his note in place and he was going to leave it in place until I flipped the house. I was going to buy him a house in West Virginia for $75,000 in cash and give him $25,000 up front, then give him the rest of it later. He was perfectly happy with it. Everything was good. Well, then, oh my gosh, I still cannot believe this happened. And then all of a sudden I am meeting with somebody. I'm doing a job interview with somebody who wants to join our real estate team. And I'm sitting there at Panera, and all of a sudden I had a Fitbit watch at the time. This is years ago. Had a Fitbit watch, and my watch just starts going crazy on my wrist. And like, it just doesn't stop buzzing. And I'm like, okay, like, why is it wigging out? Because every once in a while I moved to an Apple Watch, every once in a while the Fitbit watches would wig out on me. And so finally I look, and on my phone, I had 34 missed calls. And I was like, oh, something's weird here. And then I look, it's my brother, my wife, and Teddy, the guy on our team that brought the deal. And so what happened was my wife was driving down the street and she heard about a home explosion in the area, the county that our house was. She's like, well, we have a house in that county. And so she looked it up, and it's on the same street. It says the name of the street. And she's like, we have a house on that street. And we find out that the guy just all of a sudden, he's like, you know what? I was going to lose my house anyway. I'm just tired of this. And so literally, I kid you not, he shot his dog. He shot himself. He was a former plumber. He rigged gas. His utilities had been turned off long ago. He rigged gas from the street into his house so that it would blow up. It blew up his house. It blew up the neighbor's house. It blew up, like, there were 17 other houses impacted by it, and 12 cars were totaled. That was mine. So the crazy thing is, we had signed, but there was, like, in the DC area, there's not blizzards. There's a massive snowstorm the day before. So we were not able to get the abstract back on title. And so the title company put it as an incomplete settlement addendum saying, if there are no issues on title, we go through with this. I had paid a bunch of money to stop the auction and everything else. And so thank the Lord, like, I called the title attorney and he was like, well, if there's ever an issue on title, this one would be it.
Yes, I'll do it.
So I had the choice between going forward with it, which all my attorneys said I would probably be in court almost every day for the next few years, but insurance would cover it and I would make a fortune, or I could let it go, just lose the 10 grand that I paid to get everything set. And I was just like, and actually I had a mentor of mine who said this to me. He sold a satellite company for $1 bazillion. Every time I've focused on excellence, I make a fortune. Every time I chase money, I always get in trouble. And he's like, right now, if you go after that, you're probably going to chase money and it's probably going to bite you. And I was like, you know what? That sounds like wise advice to me. I'm going to take it.
I mean, you would have been completely non-productive the whole time chasing that, because it would have been a complete time suck, energy suck, and frankly, all your positivity would be gone. So this guy shot his dog, shot himself, and then set the whole neighborhood on fire. Did he die when he shot himself?
He did. Yeah, his house.
Did he kill anybody else? Nobody else died, right?
Nobody else was hurt. Thank
God. That's a miracle.
Oh, yeah. No, nobody else was hurt. So that was great. But I mean, it's one of the saddest things that I've ever been a part of. And it's awful. It's like a bad Netflix documentary. This is the kind of stuff they make little documentaries out of. And then we all stare at it and wonder what takes somebody down that pathway. I know. I'm like, this is not something that, like, is real life, is it? Like, this looks like it should be in a movie. But yeah, it was crazy. So yeah, that house, actually, the guy that had brought the deal drove by there the other day at an appointment. He called me and sent me a bunch of pictures. He's like, hey, look, there's a new house here. So
shocking. Hey, the lot was still there. They don't make any more dirt. Isn't that what we say in real estate?
I will tell you this. Everything was gone, but the bamboo that the guy let grow in his backyard survived.
That's an episode in and of itself. People, do not plant bamboo. That lucky bamboo you saw over at the restaurant is not lucky. That stuff is a plague, just for the record, but makes an excellent privacy buffer because you can't get rid of it and it grows thick as thieves. It's tearing up the asphalt on my street right now. We're going to have to break this down. There's like two really great things I can point out here. The first one is there's a creative solution to almost every real estate opportunity. So that subject to piece if you are a realtor, that might sound completely foreign, but you want to go investigate these things because there's times you get to bring solutions, and the traditional real estate pathway doesn't work for every buyer and seller. It does work for the great majority of people, but the more you learn how to bring different kinds of solutions, the more neighbors you can serve in the marketplace. That's the first thing I really picked out of that. But the second one is the big lesson that Chris brought to us at the end, which is you have to decide where to put your focus. And it's the biggest problem realtors have, investors have it, buyers have it. You want to buy everything. You can't buy everything. You're a realtor. You want to do everything in the marketplace. You can't do everything in the marketplace. If you're an investor of multifamily, you can't buy every complex. You have to decide what your parameters are and how to stick to it. So, Chris, if there's one lesson you like to impart to your new team members and new realtors that want to come learn from you and have you as a mentor, what's the one lesson you'd like them to walk away with?
It's a two-part piece that I say to everybody, this is how you win. And I think it's more than just real estate. I think it's in life. It's activity and skill, right? That's just it. If you talk to enough people, even if you're not skilled, even if you're a terrible salesperson, I promise you, if you talk to 1,000 people a day, you're going to sell or buy way more than one of the best salespeople in the world that only talks to 5 people. Always, always, always. The law of numbers. And then skill is how are you skilling up? And that was one of the things that really helped our team grow a lot. So I do a morning huddle with our team every morning where I teach for about 20 minutes, 5 days a week. And my wife said to me one day, she was like, Chris, I have never, she's like, we know a lot of successful people. We know a lot of people. I've never met anybody that is so ravenous about educating themselves as you are. She's like, obviously you teach the team, but are you telling the team what you do to level yourself up? Or are you just giving them that? Are you teaching them a fish or giving them a fish? And I'll tell you, at that point in time, I started sharing with everybody what I'm reading, because I'm always reading something. I get through about a book a week on Audible, what podcasts I'm listening to, what classes I'm doing, the fact that I spend about 10% of my income, although I'm a little bit behind right now, but I spend about 10% of my net income on coaching because I think your business grows to the extent that you grow. So all of that stuff, activity, talk to enough people, and then skill, learn to be better at what you're saying when you talk to them. That's going to make you successful.
I love that. See, that's the thing, guys. You can't rest on your laurels. I was looking around for a book to recommend to you, but I think it's over on my other shelf. It's a book called Leveling Up, and you mentioned Leveling Up. The author is Eric Siu, S-I-U, not real estate. So sometimes you get the best knowledge from outside of your skill. But because you're a believer, have you read this book, The Wisdom Pyramid by Brett McCracken?
I haven't.
You have to read this because he talks about priorities in life and how technology and internet should be like on the food pyramid, used sparingly, and that the word and fellowship and nature should be a bigger part of our lives than this stuff. It's so good. And if your kids you've got kids about the same size as mine if y'all had your first in 2003. So this is a great thing for teenagers to read. And I have to ask you, because you read Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, did you play cash flow with your kids, or do you play that as a family?
We have. It's a great game. It's definitely like Monopoly, only better.
Friends, if you have kids, I'm going to say probably the age of 12 and up, because under 12, it can be a little complicated. Get the game called Cash Flow by Robert Kiyosaki, and it will teach your kids about income and expenses and why things cost money. It's fascinating to watch your kids grasp that, wait a minute, I have to pay for Starbucks. I don't want to give you my $10. And the light bulb comes on about money being finite, which it is, but there's also ways to scale it. And that's what we have to impart to the next generation. So anyway, you had to bring that up because you got 6 kids, and we got to teach the next generation how to be smarter than some of the ones that are in charge in DC right now. So with that being said, Chris, how can anybody reach you and your amazing team of professionals if they're either looking to join a team in the Washington, D.C. metro area, or if they just want to reach out to you about buying and selling real estate?
Sure. Yeah. So there's a couple things. So one, I'm on Instagram at Craddock, old high school nickname. I try to respond to any direct messages on there. So feel free to reach out there. On my website, chriscraddock.com, I have a millionaire reading list, which I think anybody that, if you're not a millionaire yet, you want to become one, I think I've got a list of people that you read. Listen, I've got so many mentors I've never met yet. I find people, I like their vibe and I follow them. 3, I know that most people that listen to podcasts have 7 podcasts. So obviously keep listening to this one, but I would love to be one of your other 7. So Uncommon Real Estate. And again, it's for the agent investor as well. So would love to, have you come over there. And then the last is I teach a program with Wholesaling Inc. So it's called REI Revive. And the whole idea behind it is for investors, you are absolutely buying leads. You're getting people to call. But if you are looking to flip or wholesale deals, maybe 1 in every 20 people that will sell in the next 12 months are going to sell in your buy box. What do you do with the other 19? And so I teach investors how to partner with agents to monetize all those dead leads. I literally have an investor that makes over $60,000 a month on leads that were just getting thrown away. So with that said, that's another place to catch me.
So there you go, friends. And I'll have links to all of those bits of information in the show notes for this episode. So you can reach out to Chris and let him mentor you from a distance, gain some information, but go make yourself stronger, smarter, and do really good things. If you're in real estate, not just for your clients, but for yourselves. And if you're not a realtor, these are the kind of realtors you want, are the ones that are out there getting educated and skilling up and not just scaling up. Chris, thank you for coming on the show and for sharing the really horrifying story of that guy.
Absolutely. Well, it was great being here. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, friends, if you've got a story you want to share, hit me up on any of the social networks. In the meantime, subscribe. Give me 5 stars if you feel so inclined, and we'll see you next time.
As always, I'm so super thrilled that you joined in for more crazy shit. And if you're a realtor, investor, inspector, lender, or just a regular human being who happens to have an unbelievable story that you need to tell the world about, or frankly, you just need to one-up the story you just heard, then make sure to DM me on Instagram at Leigh Thomas Brown, or tweet me at Leigh Brown, or frankly, any social network where you hang out. I'm there. And if you had some fun, then you totally want to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes.